you a little overwhelmed, feeling isolated, angry, frustrated, unacknowledged, or fearful? Do you find yourself wanting to retreat from the world? Then it's time to break down the barriers and say yes to yourself. Join me, Christine Clark, on Forging a Life to spark the ignition and put your life into drive. We'll cover how to ignite full circle success on your terms. You can forge through. Every episode, I share a life forging tip to spark your liberated, energized, and profoundly satisfying life. It has never been a question of, do you have what it takes? It is only, are you willing to try? Forging a Life is about you and our world, as each of us forge our unique destiny. We light the way for others, igniting world-healing transformation. Step into the work and make an effort. Trust yourself and the process of becoming. Forging a Life starts now. Life is a journey, but entrepreneurship is a journey of life. Working for someone else, we can leave the job and the decisions and the energy right at work, right? But as a solo owner, that is a tightly bound and really intertwined with all of life. What causes a person to leave a job and dive into entrepreneurship? What does it take to steer your own company? There are never any guarantees in any business. As a solo owner, all of the decisions will rest on you. It's a high-risk adventure and not for the faint of heart. Yet many, many leap and do the work and reap the rewards. Joy Hankins made the leap to be the change that she wanted to see in the world. She provides natural hair products while making a difference for the foster care community in Des Moines, Iowa, and around the world. This is Forging a Life, igniting full circle success. I am your host, Christine Clark. My guest today is a woman of courage, heart, and empathy, an energetic solo entrepreneur who is all in, a complete 360 degrees. She is Joy Hankins. Joy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christine. It's so good to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm delighted to have you. You made such a big impact on me when we met way back in April at the Black and Brown Business Summit in West Des Moines. And I am just absolutely delighted to have you here with me today. So I really want to just kind of let people know what you do. So how long have you been a full-time business owner?
I am just entering year 3 of being a
Okay.
full-time business owner and still figuring everything out as I go. So
Absolutely. I don't think that ever actually ends. It gets a little smoother, but there's always something new, always something new.
that
But give
sounds
us
right.
a snapshot of business today. What
Sure.
are the current focuses? What are your projects? And just kind of tell us people what you do.
So the Joy of Curls is a plant-based textured hair brand with a mission to donate products and provide education to the foster care community. We are a brand that selects the finest ingredients in nature to nourish hair, formulated for textured hair, but the products love all diverse hair types. And the heart of what we do is foster care. So we have the Pumpkin Baby Curl Care line where we donate a portion of proceeds from that product line to give products to kids who are in foster care. But we also teach foster parents how to style textured hair because a lot of the time,
Right.
foster parents will sign up and say, I will take in any child. And if they have a child of color in their home, that's oftentimes their first experience caring for a child of color. So parents are not sure what textured hair needs or even what melanated skin needs. And so that's where the Joy of Curls comes in. But our focus also is on educating all caregivers, resource parents, and staff who provide services to kids in foster care because they're an important part of the puzzle as well. So we are now working with agencies to make sure that staff is also getting that education on textured hair and skincare and
Oh,
culture.
perfect. Yeah, perfect. Because if the staff knows, then they can inform the parents as they take on a child of color. I've,
Absolutely.
yeah, my neighbor down the road from us did foster care, and once in a while, the kids would get dropped off with us to wait for the school bus.
Mhm.
And one of her girls was a beautiful black child. And I remember my neighbor telling me that having a hard time working with the hair
Hmm.
because if you're not delicate with it, you'll break it, you'll ruin it, you'll and
Right.
I remember she just that was a comment that she made, that was years and years ago,
Hmm.
but that stuck with me. So really one of those small things that's hugely important, I
And
think.
often
And
overlooked. Yes.
right,
Yes.
yeah. um you were a teacher, right?
I was a teacher for many years. I was a Spanish teacher, so I taught grades 2 through 11th grade in Spanish,
Okay.
and I thought I would retire as a teacher. My mother was a teacher for 30 plus years. My father started his career in education as well, and I was teaching when I became a foster parent, and that's just kind of how the Joy of Curls began.
Right.
So,
So teaching sounds like was in your family.
yes, in my
So this
DNA.
in your DNA, right? So tell me about, stepping into teaching and what that, was that passion? Was that this is, you saw what your parents did? I mean, what was the pull?
It was a combination of things. One, I can say I've always loved kids and I've always felt happiest when working with children.
Yeah.
I had worked for the city of Phoenix as a council aide in the mayor and council office. I had a very young child at the time, and I was working. I liked what I was doing, but it required a lot of hours, a lot of time away, and that led to me doing some soul searching eventually. Of what
Right.
would I want to do where I would be happy, I could have time with my child, all of those things, and it just kind of led me back to teaching. And my mother had always said, if you're going to be a Spanish major, sure, you can interpret, which is what I really wanted to do. And she said, but also, get your teaching degree and have that as an option because you never know where life is going to take you. And so that's just how it kind of worked out. So I
Right.
stepped into teaching and I taught for about 10 years before I started the
Okay.
Joy of Girls.
So you loved what you did.
Yes.
So this transition to leave teaching and
Hmm.
become a CEO, that wasn't simple.
It wasn't simple, but it just so happened that I was in the process of getting my master's degree in education when the pandemic hit.
Okay.
So I was in the final part, my final semester. I was doing student teaching and everything moved to online. And I was home. I had just had another baby. And so I think anyone who is home with a 2-year-old during a global pandemic will do some soul searching and some pivoting in life. That is absolutely what happened to me. And I
Uh-huh.
just said, teaching has been great to me, but what would really set my soul on fire? Because I was in the house and we had just moved to a new city. So there were no meetups or, quarantining with family members. It was just
Right.
us. And so that brought me back to, hair. I've always been passionate about hair and foster care and, leaning into that. And so that's when I decided to fully just launch the Joy of Curls and make that my primary focus.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about starting Joy of Curls. Because you told me that you were not finding what you wanted. And then there
No.
was also concern of a lot of the chemicals that are in some of the products that we put on our bodies and in our hair are not good for us.
Right.
And also, if you're saying if it's not good for an adult and we're going to use it on our children, what's that doing?
Exactly. I think, if you can picture any aisle, any hair care aisle of any store, I mean, Target, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, wherever you shop, you may have noticed the textured hair section is maybe 1/8 of the shelf space as the
Right?
products for all types. So those of us with textured hair also oftentimes have several different textures of hair on our head. So that leads us to, trying to figure out which product combination will work the best for us. And then when you
Wow.
factor in you're looking for clean ingredients and you're looking for things that won't dry out your hair, your product selection becomes even smaller. You may have one brand that you can rely on, and it's just not enough. And I was just frustrated, not only with not finding what my hair needed and what my family needed, but I'm now working with families and recommending products to them. And I didn't feel like they were safe enough and I didn't feel like they were clean enough. And
Mhm.
so I just decided I'm going to hire a chemist and start a brand. I don't know why I thought that I could do that. I really don't. I had no experience in the beauty
Uh-huh.
industry whatsoever. It was truly just desperation. And I knew, if I start this brand, I'm going to include the ingredients that I know moisturize our hair. I know they're clean. I know they're safe. And then I'll feel good about what I'm telling these parents that I'm working with. And I'll feel
Right.
good about styling these kids' hair with products that are clean. And so that is how the product line came to be.
That is lovely. I love that. It's like I'm not finding what I need.
Right.
This is what I'm recommending
Hmm.
and just the leap. Like I'm gonna make this happen. It's like
I had to, and that might
oh,
be, an effect of the pandemic as well. I think, you're kind of like, well, what else am I doing and what do I have to lose? I'm just going to go for it. And it
mhm.
was just the right time for me to do something like that.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I have talked to that the 2020 was a catalyst for
Hmm.
entrepreneurship in huge ways. Huge ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so you decided to get going. And when met you at the Black and Brown Business Summit in West Des Moines,
Hmm.
you were a judge for the pitch competition that last year.
I
And
was.
also you were a panelist for the Pitch with Power Breakout, which is where I really got to, hear about you and kind of get to know you there. So tell me about, what it takes to raise capital with pitch competitions because I watched people get up and you have to stand in front of a huge group. You
Right.
have to tell them your heart and soul why this is important so that you can get funding. And I thought, most of the population puts fear of speaking right before death by fire. It's like
I'm one of those people, for sure.
so right. So that it's like so this is excuse my language, a ballsy way to get funding, but it's also just brilliant. So tell me about that, raising capital with pitch competition.
Well, first, I joined two accelerator programs. One was the Drake Venture School program, and shortly after that, Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women Black in Business. For both of those programs, we had to pitch to our cohort and to our mentors. The first time, I was so incredibly nervous. I almost wanted to drop out of the program because I am probably the most soft-spoken person you will ever meet, and I hate being the center of attention. In addition to, not being a fan of public speaking. So, um, I pitched and I won first place, and I was just kind of baffled by that completely. But my mentors were like, "No, you killed it." What I do know about myself, though, is the teacher in me will look at a rubric and break it down point by point, bullet by bullet, and try to get every single point. And that's how I went into pitching. But also, as you
Okay.
stated, pitching really is storytelling. And so I've always been comfortable talking about my why. And I just decided, if I can just focus on my story, my why, and just sharing that journey, this will be a pleasurable experience for me.
Right.
So the second time that I had to pitch um, was for a theme. And I had mentors at that time, and I just completely leaned into my story and I placed top three. And so it was at that point my husband was like, maybe you just want to pitch for a living. I mean, this seems to be easy for you. And I'm like, no, by
Right.
no means is this easy for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be in debt. I was kind of afraid of taking on loans early on in my business, and I just didn't like the way that that felt. So it was natural for me to just decide to pitch. The third time I pitched, I won the Hy-Vee Opportunity Grand Prize of $30,000 for my business,
Oh,
which
wow.
was really needed at the time. But I can't
Mhm.
even tell you the amount of fear and trembling that I typically feel going into a pitch competition. I
Right.
have to tune out everything, everyone, go in a corner, pray, focus on what I'm going to say, pray some more. And a lot of the times there will be coaches that say, "Hey, do you want to run over your pitch deck and I'll give you pointers and you can just work out some kinks." And I'm like, "No, I can't because I don't even want to say it in front of, one person. I'd
Right,
rather just
right.
rip off the Band-Aid and do it in front of everyone and that's it." But it's actually been a tremendous blessing to be able to grow my business that way. And, 5 minutes of pain for, a year or more of funding that's going to support your business, I think anyone can look at that and say it's worth giving it a shot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love your lead up to an actual pitch, that solitude, that focus, and then,
Mhm.
just ripping off the Band-Aid. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, awesome. That's cool. That is cool. We're going to go ahead and move to our first break. My guest
Right.
today is Joy Hankins, CEO of Joy of Curls. Her website is thejoyofcurls.shop. You can follow her on Facebook at Joy of Curls and on Instagram and YouTube at Joy of Curls Beauty. I
The joy of
am
Curls Beauty.
Joy of Curls Beauty. Yes,
The joy of Curls Beauty.
the Joy of Curls. May got to get the in there. Okay. I am Coach Christine Clark, your host. Remember to submit your name and email and phone at christine@sunglowtransformation.com for the opportunity to receive a free laser program, 4 laser-focused coaching sessions with me. Follow Coach Christine on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Stick around for meaningful foster care history and, of course, your life-forging tip. I am Christine Clark. This is Forging a Life, and my guest today is Joy Hankins, the CEO of Joy of Curls. Um, Joy, back in 1964 with the Civil Rights Act and, the ensuing affirmative action laws, which kind of shifted the ethnic ratio in employee pools, some since then, that has just been eroded so much. And when I learned that Joy of Curls was a Black-owned business that supports Black-owned businesses, that just kind of lit me up. It's like, this is part of what's needed to balance the scales. But would you speak to that? Making those deliberate choices to um, seek out and work with Black talent.
Sure. I was intentional about it because I know how hard it has been for me to start my business without any background in business and without anyone to tell me these are the grants that you should apply for and these are the programs that are available to you. And also knowing personally and hearing that it's harder for Black women to get funding for our businesses.
Right.
So I decided I want my business to support other women in business like me because I know that
Mhm.
it's needed, but also in building a brand that is about textured hair care and the best products and ingredients for our hair. I knew that I wanted my chemist to be a Black woman because I wanted her to take her personal experience with hair
Right.
that she's had throughout her life and be able to test the products on herself and be able to take her knowledge and background in science and make adjustments where they need to be. And I just thought that was just a natural thing for me to do. So,
Yeah. Tell me about that relationship when you approached her with this idea.
oh, she was ecstatic. She was completely ecstatic. So her name is Cynthia Johnson. Her business is Cindy J Labs, and she confidently wears her textured hair throughout, her everyday life. And so
Mhm.
she was just thrilled to formulate for a clean textured hair brand with the mission as well. And I knew she was the one because she asked me what I wanted the texture to feel like and the viscosity to be. And when I told her, she gasped and she screamed and she was elated. And I said, anyone who is getting this excited about viscosity, that's my girl.
Wow,
Um,
cool.
but it's been amazing. I couldn't ask for a better partner in business. All of the partners that I've had in building this business, from my label design company, my social media manager, my financial advisor, my photographer, even. It's just been great to collaborate and work with these women and build their businesses as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And that kind of leads me to my next thought. Um, that collaboration and community. When you are a solo entrepreneur, I mean,
Hmm.
we fly solo, basically. We have to make the decisions, we have to get up and we have to run to make the business happen. And it's also really important to be able to have a support system, to have people where you can share your thoughts with, bounce things off people that will support you in ways that are healthy,
Hmm.
not want to protect you, and also, that get you. So tell me about community. What has that meant for your business, having a community, and what would you tell, other entrepreneurs or people that are looking at stepping into small business ownership?
What I didn't know starting my business is how incredibly lonely it is to be a solopreneur.
Right.
It sounds great and it's definitely glamorized on Instagram,
Right.
but in reality, you're
Yeah.
faced to make all of these major decisions that could make or break your business. And
Yes.
you don't have a sounding board per se to run these ideas off of and, to lead you and to guide you. And so you couple that with the fact that in business, you hear no probably 10 times more than you hear
Oh,
yes. It's
absolutely.
it's a very lonely place to be. So it was a necessity. I actually prayed for community, and fortunately, joining Goldman Sachs Black in Business program, I was immediately connected with over 200 other Black women in business who were just starting their businesses like me. We were broken up into cohorts, and so I had a group of 5 women who I was working with every single week, and we are, building our customer profiles and narrowing down how we want to market. And that was tremendous for me because we didn't only talk about that. We also talked about how exhausting it was to be a CEO, and some of us work from home, but have to manage our households as well. But we're not
Right.
stay-at-home moms. We're running companies, but
Yeah.
we still have to empty the dishwasher and we still have to, prepare for dinner. And our office is right there
Yeah.
next to the kitchen. And it's like, when do you shut off one hat and turn on another? It seems like they're both always on. And
Absolutely.
when
Yeah,
you do that every day, day after day, it's exhausting.
it does. Yeah.
It is exhausting, and you won't last very long if you don't have community. So I had to
Mhm.
learn that lesson the hard way, and also learn, sometimes you need your sisters in business to say, hey, how's your self-care? What are you
Right.
doing? Are you
Yes.
taking a day off?
Mhm.
And you realize I am the worst boss to myself ever. I
Right.
never give myself a day off. I work when
Mhm.
I'm sick. I'm working, 10, 12-hour days and into
Yeah.
the night. Who's looking out for me?
Mhm.
Fortunately, my husband will say, okay, we were going to watch a show tonight. You think you want to, put a pause and wait till tomorrow? But for the most part, you know, doing it by yourself, you will find out early on that you need community, and it's essential for your survival as a solopreneur to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was first getting into coaching, I did 25 years in direct sales, as a beauty consultant with Mary Kay, and switched into coaching. It was my call. It was heart drawn to really help people in this way and work with people, as a coach. And I, of course, had hired my own coach. And my first session with her, I was telling her that, I am just like walking through the peanut butter to get things done. It's just,
Hmm.
I just have such resistance to doing the stuff I know I need to do. And her question to me was, well, last time, when was the last time you took vacation? Uh, don't know.
What's that? Yeah.
How's that? And so she walked me through being able to just step away and taking
Hmm.
time off and to plan for that, plan
Right.
to take time off. And really when you go on vacation, try and go on vacation as much as possible.
Right.
But leave the computer in the hotel room.
Hmm.
But yeah, that piece is so important to not burn out and to have clarity of judgment and decision making. Because if we push and push and push and push and we wear ourselves down, then we're not being as effective as we can be.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
part.
So yeah, having people around you that can say, "Good job," and when are you gonna, give yourself a breathe? Right.
Right.
Right. Oh, yeah. Um, what's the most important thing do you think when you shift a step into serving the world with your own thing, when you want to bring your thing to the world
Mhm.
because it's meaningful to you?
Right.
What do you think the most important piece is to, and just when you want to step in and serve the world in a very personal way?
Well, it's very important to reflect on your why because your reason why you're doing this is what's going to keep you going when it gets really tough and you want to throw in the towel and you want to say, I can't do this anymore. So you have to be crystal clear on what's drawing you to give of yourself in this way. Um, And you also have to know that, you know, you really can't do it alone. So you have to plan for that. And you have to say, okay, by this time, I'm going to hire this person or, I'm going to utilize this resource. And you just have to be very clear on those things going into it.
Yeah. And I love that. Did you have that clarity right from the get-go, do you think?
My purpose was clear, yes. There are
Okay.
times when you can get distracted from your purpose, though.
Right.
There are times when the work of building the business overtakes you and you are just thinking, gosh, I'm exhausted and I'm not really, reaching the goal that I had for this point in my business. But then you think about what your why is, and then you say to yourself, okay, but these people over here have been impacted by the
Right.
work, and that's because the work serves a purpose. So focus on doing that work. And even if it's just one person or just one organization that's utilizing the benefits of that work, you are making a difference in this world and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So just stay on that path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, that's just golden because that is one of the things that um people can really get off base. They have the goal
Hmm.
and they have their metrics that they want to meet and they're putting in the hours and they're doing it. And I've coached people through, they're focusing on the metrics and they're saying, I'm not making it. And it's like, wait a minute.
Hmm.
You had 5 people sign up with you this month. You are impacting these people. Yes, you didn't make your 10 or 15 that was the peak. But if you don't, you have to recognize the impact you are making and celebrate that
That's
and
right.
really appreciate that and appreciate the people that you do have because that's that spark that gives life to what you're doing. And if you always look at
Yeah.
where you're not,
Hmm.
I swear you will burn out. And
Yes, and comparison truly is the thief of joy. We
yes,
see on social media every single day businesses that are like ours, doing things that we haven't done, reaching goals that we haven't met at this point, in our journey.
right.
And that's probably the worst thing that you can do. You don't
Yes.
know, how much capital that business has raised. You
Yes.
don't know how long they've been in business. You don't know how many employees they have with the expertise doing all the things. And you really have to step away from that and sometimes turn off your phone or,
Yeah,
turn off that app and focus on your journey, your goal, your why, and what you're supposed to be doing.
absolutely. Absolutely. Creating success on your terms. And I mean that seriously, your terms. Put the blinders on. What makes you
Right.
happy? What gives you, fills your cup? And doing the work that's there in alignment with your intrinsic self is so
Mhm.
important. And to create your own life because, as you said, social media and the media in general, shows us these icons of people that are rich and famous,
Yeah.
but they don't have family. And statistics tell us that a bigger percentage of those people are also suicidal. So, yeah,
Unfortunately,
they
yeah.
look good, but
Which I understand. It's really tough if you don't have that support.
Mhm.
Again, it goes back to the loneliness. It is extremely isolating, extremely lonely to be an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, which is why you need community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do want to move into the foster care piece
Hmm.
because I know this is your heart. And when I met you at the conference, and you talked about the foster care. For me, that was like a little book opened up, and it's like because my parents did foster care, and it would have been in the mid to late 60s, early 70s is
Mm.
when we did that. We were in
Hmm.
California. Um, and it was interesting because I was able to call and talk with my father. I said, "You remember doing that?" And he gave me more details. But for me, it was just to remember every single one of those kids' names and something
Hmm.
about them, even though I was probably what, 5, 6 years old. I wasn't
Hmm.
very old when we did this. But I remember each of the kids that came into our home at that period of time. It was very brief stays. I think the longest we ever had a child was a full year.
Hmm.
But it was just kind of open. I was like, oh yeah. I remember that. We had these other people with us. We're part of the family for a while, and it was just a really wonderful memory. And for me to be able to say I can name them all, it's like that's pretty good at my
It
age.
is, it is very good. Well, very good
Yeah,
that they all stayed with you, after all these years, and good
right,
that
right.
your family was able to provide love during the time where they needed it the most, but that it was also beneficial for you. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it really was. It really was. And when we come back, we're going to just dive into this if you're willing, because this
Absolutely.
is such a rich topic. So we will. We're going to go ahead and move to our break. My guest today is Joy Hankins, CEO of Joy of Curls. Her website is thejoyofcurls.shop. Follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Joy of Curls Beauty. I'm Coach Christine Clark, your host. Your free laser program awaits. Ignite your next evolution, springboard your business, or step past circumstance to embrace your inherent power. All you have to do is submit your name, your email, and phone number in an email to me at Christine@sunglowtransformation.com. You can follow me also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at Coach Christine Clark. Remember, your life forging tip is coming up next, and we're going to deep dive into the richness of foster care. Welcome back to Forging a Life, Igniting Full Circle Success. I am your host, Christine Clark. My guest today is Joy Hankins, CEO of Joy of Curls. Joy, one of the things that drew me to you was your business model, because you started Joy of Curls with what is, in my experience, been a kind of a unique structure. Usually a company might go nonprofit, or if they're for profit, they'll lay like down the road, they'll add a charitable mission into the business. But you started as a for-profit company with a philanthropic mission right from the get-go. And it was part of why you started it. And I just find that just fascinating. So tell me about the foster care, which was part of the impetus, my understanding of starting Joy of Curls?
So my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, Cassie McGlawn, she lost her mom when she was 11, and she was one of seven. And they ended up being raised by a foster mother. My great grandfather went to work to support his family and was gone long days and sometimes nights. And so he needed someone to care for his children. And Cornelia Hunter was a member of their church. She was a foster mom and she stepped in and raised my grandmother. And
Wow.
when my grandmother became an adult, got married, my grandparents decided that they wanted to be foster parents. On my father's side, um, my paternal grandmother, she was raised by family members, which is what we call kinship care. So I had
Mhm.
two examples on both sides of my family of being involved in the foster care system in some way. And hearing, especially about my grandma Cassie being a foster mom and my mom having foster sisters, I thought that was fascinating because otherwise she was an only child, but she had
Oh,
these sisters and she was able to have that experience. And that was just always a part of the conversation. So I remember probably around the time I was 15 or 16 thinking, that's something that I would like to do someday. And then I meet my husband, and he had worked mentoring young men who were in foster care and helping them find jobs. And so we had that conversation. He was right on board of wanting to be a foster parent too.
cool.
So we became certified, and it was a no-brainer for us. He's also a pastor, and we just wanted to be involved. I really wanted to continue my grandmother's legacy.
Beautiful. Now, you said that when you went into foster care training, that you looked around the room and you were the only family of color in there.
Yes.
What impact did that have on you?
So the instructor said to us one day, we really need more Black families to be foster parents because kids who are in foster care, they lose everything. But when you lose everything and then include your cultural connections, it's something that doesn't need to happen, but it's especially traumatic for a child to lose because your culture is your identity. It's a strong part of who you are. So to have to lose that too is devastating. And so she was saying, so we need more Black families. And then she moved on. And I felt like a lightning bolt struck through me. It was a moment where I heard this call to action, knowing that I was the one in the room who received it. So I couldn't look to the left or to the right and say,
Right.
somebody's going to do something, somebody's got this. I had to say, there is something that I can do. Um, and hair is the first thing that came to my mind because I've always been fascinated by hairstyling and learning how to do my hair different ways and experimenting with different products for my hair. And so I just had this thought, I'm going to teach foster parents how to style textured hair. And that's a way of maintaining a cultural connection. And that's where it all began.
Wow. So they really were intertwined. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
foster
from
care
the,
and hair
from the
care.
very beginning. Yes.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Um, so tell me about your work
Mhm.
with the business, but also with foster care. And because you're a parent, but you're also training, you're also teaching, you're also instructing, you're also providing product and funds. So, tell us about this very large piece of your business.
Sure. Well, when the Joy of Curls began, I was reaching out to foster parents and they would pay me a deposit to teach them how to style their child's hair. And I would use that deposit to buy hair products and tools to use that they could keep. And that was going on for a while and it was great. But then I recognized that need for textured hair care. So then started the brand so that I had a product line. But then I also recognized, the larger need for not just hair education and skincare education, but how to maintain a child's culture and how to invite culture into the home. And so that's when I started reaching out to agencies with a course that I created called Curly Hair Loving Care. And I created
Okay.
a second course called Curls Care and Culture. And the Joy of Curls partners with Four Oaks Foster Care Agency that serves the entire state of Iowa so that parents can take this course that I teach 4 credits to maintain their license. And
Okay.
so, they're able to take the class, they're able to get discounted product and even free products, donations from the Joy of Curls. And the word has just continued to spread. So I'm now working with more agencies, and the class is virtual most of the time. And so this is something that any agency anywhere could sign up for this class and provide this resource to their parents, to resource parents.
Yeah, that is huge. That is huge. So, what kinds of things do people ask you? I mean, they're in there, they're learning about how to work with hair and the appropriate way. And so, um, I guess what has been some of the questions, or what have been some of the horror stories that people have shared that you've been able to educate them and help fix?
There are quite a few myths and misconceptions about textured hair. And so I think some of the common questions that I get are, I've heard that you're not supposed to wash textured hair, or, I've heard that it's really bad if you use shampoo, and if you wash, you're supposed to use conditioner only. And so it's actually a myth. And so I'm able to tell them that it's the type of shampoo. So you can't just use, let's just say it, not picking on any brand, but let's say you use Pantene, or let's say you use Suave, which those brands have now created textured hair lines. But the products that you would typically use on your non-textured hair can be very stripping and damaging to textured hair. So you don't want to shampoo with those, but you definitely want to shampoo and cleanse the scalp once or twice a week to remove that buildup and that dirt and make sure that hair can get moisturized, because moisture comes from water. Um, let's see. A lot of parents will use protective styles. So say they may take their child's hair to get braided, which braids can last for several weeks, 6 to 8
Right. Yeah.
even. But it's a myth that once the braids are in, that's it. They're in, the hair is done, it's good. I can just kind of go on autopilot. It's like, no, 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 no. The hair still needs to get moisture. The hair still needs product. It still needs to make sure that you still need to make sure that the hair is thriving. So you need to create a regimen and, walking them through that. As far as horror stories, really, I've heard things like when the child came into my care, their hair had been braided for a time, and I didn't know how to take it out, so I just left it, and now it's tangled, and it's breaking off, and I don't know what to do. So there are a lot of conversations like that. And
Mhm.
then also a lot of, it's the first day of school tomorrow. Oh my God, what am I going to do?
Right. Because everybody wants to look cute on the first day of school, right?
And so it's really about just teaching them a standard regimen for washing, detangling, how to detangle, because textured hair is very fragile. So our hair needs to be wet and have conditioner in it to detangle so that it's not being broken off and stripped. Um, Deep conditioning, and then giving them a basic style in their tool belt so they feel that they can do something well.
Mhm.
That's what I try to do so that it's not this overwhelming process. And then later, if they want to come back and schedule another session with me, then we can really dive deep into a style like twisting the hair and braiding the hair, and just different styles that are easy to do and fun and
I
good for
love
the.
that. I like that you start people where they're at when they don't know anything. Um, and a basic style, and then you can learn something more complicated later, but don't not overwhelming the people. So educate us. What you said, talked about regimen, a good hair care regimen for textured hair. What
Yes.
is that?
So it all starts with shampoo. And again, you want to make sure the scalp, when you're shampooing textured hair, You want to focus on using your fingertips to massage the shampoo into the scalp, but you also don't want to shampoo like you see on the commercials where people have their hair piled on top of their head and there's all the suds and lather, and you kind of see this kind of thing going on where they're
Right.
moving their hands around. So that further detangles textured hair. Curls love each other. Strands just want to get together and lock in and hug, and, that creates tangles. So throughout the entire wash process, you want to encourage textured hair to detangle. So you wash with your fingers spread apart and you want to use more downward strokes and downward motion so that you're encouraging that detangling. And then rinse. And then you want to use a thick and creamy deep conditioner that's formulated for textured hair so that it can absorb into the strands and provide the moisture that's going to prevent breakage. And conditioner, you put on conditioner, a plastic cap. I always say if you have young kids, put a movie on, give them their favorite snack, pamper them like princes and princesses, and let them feel like, a great experience, because that's kind of in the Black community, that's what our parents have done for us generationally. It's a bonding time, hairstyling time, but you make
Okay.
it special. And so you wash out the conditioner, and this is something that you can do outside of the shower because it's a longer process.
Hmm.
Um, but then you also need a styling product, like a great moisturizing leave-in conditioner. So that's the product that stays in the hair and encourages that moisture to stay in the hair. And you would end with a braid or a bun or something that's, a simple style. And you also add water the next day, maybe a spray bottle, and just a
Okay.
few drops of oil for the ends that prevents breakage. Because also, if you think about, wearing a t-shirt, if your hair is down, when your hair is brushing up against your shirt and your hair is dry, it breaks. So protective styles tuck the ends away so that they don't experience that breakage, but also
Hmm.
keeping the ends moisturized with the leave-in conditioner with the oil will help prevent that breakage. But the key is always moisture. If textured hair looks dry, it's probably dry. Feels dry, you need moisture. You need water-based products to keep textured hair moisturized.
No, thank you for that. I know there's so many people listening, and you've just helped a whole bunch of people. I
Okay.
do want to make sure that we get the life forging tip coming in, because I know all of you are waiting for that. So we're going to slide that in right now. Whether you are stepping into entrepreneurship or stepping up in life, to get where you're going, you have to know where you are. And this is today's life forging tip. One of the critical pieces required in order to soar is to take a clear-eyed, ego-free assessment of where you are, what your current circumstance is. You have to know where you are in order to get where you want to go. Looking at what you tolerate is a key piece of that assessment. Once you have awareness of the things that you put up with, then you're at choice. You can decide, it's not that big of a deal, let it go. Or you can say, hey, this is a significant irritation. If I handled this, I would have more energy to put towards things that are productive. Listing tolerations is a great empowerment exercise that'll help you get clarity. Do it alone, do it with your support team, or better yet, do it with Christine Clark. I am here for your full circle success. We have just a few minutes left. Troy, what is the message that you want to leave to those that are listening today?
I would like to say that whatever gifts you have, whatever passions that you have, whatever experiences that you've had in life that have brought you joy, there is such a need to share that joy, to share that love, to share your talents with kids in foster care. And sometimes we look at foster care as this big problem that's hard to step into. But there are so many ways that you can help. You can donate books, you can donate tickets to a play, you can donate your time and be a mentor in what's called respite care, where you're just caring for a child in foster care for a short period of time. There are so many different ways to give to kids in foster care. So I just want to encourage you to consider reaching out to your local agency and seeing what it takes to become certified so that you can provide for this community, children who are going through the most traumatic days of their entire lives and just need to feel love.
Yeah, you can be a care parent or you can be part of the community. Yeah, beautiful. My guest today has been Joy Hankins. She's CEO of Joy of Curls. Shop her store and learn all about her philanthropic mission on her website at joyofcurls.shop. We thrive when our endeavors fill the cup of life, and there is energy that comes when doing the work that is in line with your intrinsic self. With a broad gaze and a servant heart, we, like Joy Hankins, can be the change that we want to see. As each of us forge our unique destiny, we light the way for others, igniting world healing transformation. This is Forging a Life, igniting full circle success. I am your host, Christine Clark. Remember to put your name in for the free laser coaching program. Until next time, keep forging through. You have been listening to Forging a Life with me, Christine Clark, igniting full circle success. Tune in every second and fourth Tuesday at 9 a.m. on Transformation Talk Radio for more life-forging tips to spark your liberated, energized, and profoundly satisfying life. As each of us forge our unique destiny, we light the way for others, igniting world-healing transformation. It's never been a question of, do you have what it takes? It's only, are you willing to try? Schedule a complimentary personal clarity session. Visit forgingalife.com. That's forgingalife.com.